what I learned in healing was, in my fascination with healing, you know, tomorrow's Halloween, is that oh, it's okay. Is the power of our words. Is the all right, I'm just going to give this a minute. I'm not sure everybody's back, so before I start with the lecture, I think I'll just open up with a question. If you got a question for me, will I make sure everybody's in? Anybody want to chat about a question? What about Halloween? No. I think on Halloween, nothing. So are we doing okay so far? Yeah.
When we talk about anger being stuck,
yeah.
Start over with that.
Yeah.
When we talk about anger being stuck and it becoming an anchor,
Yeah.
can we use anger? Can anger be a motivating force? Can it be a force for transformation and alchemy if we use it and go, I'm going to take this anger and what can I do with it, Lord? Can I stand up for those babies being locked in cages or
All right.
in that case?
That's a great question. Are we good? I think so. Okay, got it. All right, then I'm going to turn this into a question for everybody. You know, this is where, as a spiritual alchemist, which is what I'm going to call you, a mystic spiritual alchemist, this is, your first column is all personal. I think I have that word here someplace. It's all personal. And this is mystical, which means it's impersonal. And here's the difference. When you're in this column, you want to do everything for yourself. And you're righteous. You're self-righteous. And this column is the column of justice and reason. And these are words that fit in this world. And when you're in this world, when you step into the first, second, and third psychic fields, and these are the psychic fields that govern the physical world. And when you step into those fields, you can become possessed. Operative word, possessed. By the perception that only you can do this. And that your cause will transform something. And you can become single-focused. And that's one of the possessions of this world. And that my anger will, that you can actually heal world hunger. That there'll actually come a time where there will be peace on this earth. Where you can actually right the wrongs in education. You can actually become possessed by this idea that the idealism in the cosmos can be incarnated into this earth. And that's a possession.
And it feels like that.
Well, because it is.
Yeah.
And that's where if I could grab you by the hand and say, get over here as fast as you can, up to this higher position, which is mystical reasoning, your mystical consciousness, where you see through your soul, which, like when the Chinese asked the Dalai Lama after they slaughtered 2/3 of the monks in Tibet, how do you feel about this? And you could see the reporter shoving the microphone into his face, wanted the Dalai Lama to say, those horrible people. But instead he said, I feel compassion. He responded in holy language, which completely baffled the reporter here who wanted to incite and provoke. He wanted him to say something provocative that would say, and the Dalai Lama said, so he could be the first to start a global uprising. But instead, the Dalai Lama diffused and actually said what he meant. I feel compassion. Because I'm looking at the souls of these people, and do you know how painful a soul has to be? Maybe those people were ordered to kill those monks, and it broke their heart to do that. Maybe it broke their heart to follow orders like that. Maybe they went and got on their knees and asked God to forgive them for the sin they know they just committed. You have no idea what the Dalai Lama saw and saw so very clearly. So you take your anger and you think, I don't know what is fair and just and right in this world. I have not got a clue. I've not got a clue. I know that in the moment, children in cages is a monstrous thing. So I will do whatever I can, anywhere I am, to free any human being in a cage, no matter what that looks like. So whether a child is literally in a cage in front of me or in the cage of a perceptive a judgment, that's a cage. Or in the cage of poverty, that's a cage. A child doesn't have to be in a cage for me to see a child in a cage. No way, because that's not how I see. But if you have to put a kid in a bloody physical cage to get the damn message, then that's what apparently we need. Because that's how thick we are. Are you getting it now? Yeah. Oh my, maybe it's us. Okay? Maybe it's time we get that we're the ones who put human beings in cages, and therefore they manifest in cages for us. Look at that. Thought goes into form. That's how it happens. We did that. That's our handiwork.
You preach, woman. You preach.
Do I sound like a preacher? I'm so sorry. No. Anyway, do you get it?
Absolutely. It's like you said. I say my prayer, but it's not up to me to. I will invoke my prayer, but it's not up to me to decide the direction of that prayer. It's up to me to see what shadow work is inside me that is manifesting in my exterior world.
Bingo. And that we are as much a part of this shadow as we have the power of light to change it. Hitler didn't drop out of a tree, and someone else didn't drop out of a tree. All right, but all right, but none of these individuals just happen. They come along any more than a Ben Franklin just happens when we're ready for the light or Da Vinci. They happen because the soul is craving light. And Francis of Assisi happens because they're light. And Buddha happens because, and the Taoist teachings, everything comes because we are collectively screaming for what we need. And we, if we get, I think we're in this together. And we start weaving ourselves together as if and stop thinking we're on our own, or treating it as if, with the illusion that we are on our own. And I can't, there's a community that I go to all the time that I just adore. And I've been going there for 37 years, and I adore it, And it was founded by a woman who really heard Christ, and she channeled him, or a messenger from, or however. Eileen Caddy was her name. And it's the Finhorn community in Scotland. And in those early days, this community got together and meditated on a regular basis. And they weren't meditating Christian, but they were meditating the cosmic Christ, that's up here, a big, huge, different force of the 11th, the cosmic power, the holy cosmic power. All the teachers, all the major league, they're all in this holy cosmic force. And through the years, I've watched this community that I love eventually recede from that and not gather in meditation. They still have a meditation area, and they say every Sunday or every whatever day it is, it's there if you want. And the people have receded again into, I do my own thing. Why would you be part of an ecological, spiritual community, but not be part of what you could do as a community in prayer? Why would you do that? Why would you decide to go about your own path while becoming part of a community and still maintain your own selfish path? Well, I don't get it. And think that being part of a community is sharing vegetables. When your real power is this. Now this I give you as the ultimate challenge here for everyone to face on your route to holy language, is to actually get into what is holy about you. Is to actually make that leap into what is the practice of the holy. What is that, right? What is that? Now, what does it mean? In this in the world, from your 4th to your 7th, that's your energy field. That's not your body. 1 through 3 is your physical world. But in your 4th through 7th, your heart, obviously, is your physical heart. But now we're talking about emotion, and emotion is energy. And your 6th chakra is how what you believe is your reality and how you construct your reality. And if I said, bring me that in a box, there'd be nothing in there except everything. Nothing and everything simultaneously. Your whole reality, but actually, if I said, bring it to me, you'd have to give me an empty box. So this is your energy. And you were introduced to energy as conscious through the body, mind, spirit template or through holistic health. I don't imagine any of you was introduced through energy through a miracle. Am I wrong? A miracle. Right. Okay. So most people, why are you bent over like that? Okay. So, but most people are through, it was healing? Okay, but it was an accident in healing. It was an accident, healing, body. Something physical. Yes. Okay, so there you go. It is always through a physical encounter that makes energy, that introduces you to the consciousness of energy. And you'll always take the word energy, and you'll latch on to that. Because that's your first go at it. When I'm talking to you about entering your soul, you will always enter through the word energy. And the reason you do, there's nothing sacred about that word. Let's be real clear here. Nothing. That word is neutral. It means nothing. Whether you're dealing with a light bulb or dealing with your energy field, you're going to use the same word. That should tell you right off the bat, it's not sacred. Number 2. That word has no attachment whatsoever to, here's another word I want you to put down, conscience. That's holy language. The word energy, not connected at all to your conscience. Not your consciousness, conscience. The metronome in you that says, I don't know if this is right or wrong, good or bad, divine or dark. What is it? Your metronome. Energy isn't, right, okay, 0. Energy is simply life force. That's it. That's it. So this is how Teresa would call it. Teresa says, there's 2 types of wells. There's the well that you dig for water, and that water's real. And it will sustain you, but eventually the well you dig will run out of water, and you have to go and find another one. And you'll find water, and you will drink that water, and it will sustain you, and then that one will run out of water. But then there's the well heaven gives you, And it never runs out and you don't have to dig. That's the difference between energy and grace. You always have to replenish your energy. You run out of energy. You go to sleep, you have to replenish it. You have to always manage it. You never have to manage or replenish grace. Ever. Ever. Grace is bestowed. You will never use the word, this is third column, bestowed. Energy is never bestowed upon you. That's holy language. A blessing is bestowed upon you. Grace is bestowed upon you. Energy is not bestowed. Am I communicating the difference? Is that okay? Grace is conscious. It's directed. God grant me the grace of understanding here because I need it big, huge. You don't say, give me the energy of understanding. Okay? Energy will only heal you so much. It'll take you this far, but it will never, ever, ever, ever knock an illness out of you. It can make you feel better. It can relax you. It can put an illness into remission, but it will never relieve your body. It never has the fire. Come over here. It doesn't have the fire to get you out of the actual experience of the illness, to burn it out of your system. I felt the light go through me and into that. And what holy light does, grace, holy light, is it burns it through as if you never had it. And the whole experience of it is gone, has been removed. You are done. What grace does is it takes, you are complete with the experience. Done. It is over. That's what that healing is. You can't get there without prayer or grace, but you can get there. This is the thing you have to understand. You can get there. This is not an arduous climb on your knees with 1,000 candles so that your house looks like the burning of Rome. Which is how it was introduced to me as a baby Catholic. It's not that. But I got why it was taught that way. And that's that the encounter is so extraordinary that if you look at how much self-esteem you require to simply make a tiny choice to challenge someone, and how afraid of it you are. What will they say if I do this? What will they say if I change my hairstyle? Something so tiny in this world. What if they say if I actually tell them how I feel? How you feel? You're going to tell someone how you feel and you think that's a big deal? And if you were to have an experience, then you can't even validate. You can't even validate a miracle. You can't prove it. You cannot prove that in the quiet of your office, as you looked up and said, I don't understand this. And then you did understand it. You have no proof and no earthly research. Show us your research. I don't have that kind of research. Well, how do you know? Because I know. And you're going to go out there in the public and you're going to teach something because you know, yeah, I am. Well, you're going to shut down, and so I will. And there it is. The kind of titanium backbone you have to stand in grace and say, I'll take it. I'll take whatever you're going to dish out at me. I don't care. Because what's standing behind me can crush you like a bug. And I can't give it, but the only thing I've got is the power of what I believe, and I can see it in you, and I know you want, I know what it is to wake up to this. I know what it is. But if you don't believe enough, even in yourself, to be able to speak the truth to yourself, to have faith in yourself, how can you have an experience that, come over here, is outside the speed of time and space? You will, out of fear, keep yourself running hour to hour, because that's the speed of the tribal mind, and that will make you feel safe. And then you don't have anything that you have to explain to anybody. You don't have to explain anything to anybody. You will perceive the same thing on the horizon that everybody sees. You won't have to explain to anybody that you understand something at a faster speed. You won't go from thinking to perceiving to maybe receiving visions. Are you with me? To mystical. You won't have to cope with seeing what may be coming and incarnating that you might be able to. Where I was best at my task, where I was most useful at my task with Norm is that doing an intuitive reading when the illness was already in your system, I was useless. That's reading the caboose on the train. Do all of you know what a caboose is? Okay, well, in Europe, they don't use that word often. So, okay, so, but that's doing the reading on the caboose. You already have the illness. What good is that? Where I was most useful is up here, where I could sense what had entered, here, come on, what had entered your 8th chakra, the possibility of what you might get. Between possibility and probability, where something was beginning to form, but it hadn't yet, come over here, dropped into physical form. But it was forming. And it was going from possibility to probability. And right there, in that little place, that vibrational pocket, you had the most power to shift gears. That's where you had the most power, where's my drawing, to pull up your anchors and to go back to this vibration where you could dematerialize something you were incarnating. Right there. And if you want to compare it to something, it's not unlike how going into a store repeatedly and spotting something you know you shouldn't buy. So you're walking past the store and you see something and there's the store's there and it's in your neighborhood, so that's like this. You're not quite there, you didn't see it, but then one day you walk down the street. So now it's in the remote field. But then one day you walk down and you go, and it comes closer because now you're taking something in the impersonal and you're beginning to personalize. Now you walk in. And you're taking something impersonal and you're beginning to personalize. And now, but it's still, you're still not toxic, but now you're playing games. Now you're personalizing. And then you meet a salesperson. And you start shopping around and you see this $3 billion set of diamonds. Bling, your weakness. So now we start talking. And now it's getting, and now we're getting into the 8th and we're crossing over to the 7th. Possible to probable. Possible to probable. But I haven't yet said yes, have I? So now we're doing the dance. Well, says Ariana, I could shift the price. Well, how much could you? And maybe I could shift my mind. Well, maybe she could shift. Maybe I could have a discussion with myself. Maybe I could sell my children. Never my animals, but maybe my firstborn, maybe your firstborn. I'll figure out a way. I go and start having conversations. Now I'm tampering. What am I doing? I'm tampering with my energy circuits. Maybe if I pull this one, if I pull that one, I'm doing negotiations with the laws. It's exactly what I'm doing. I'm doing negotiations. Maybe this, maybe that. I am negotiating. I'm tampering. But I haven't yet made the commitment, because it's the commitment. It's committing my fifth chakra. It's making the choice that drops the anchor, that then lowers this into the act of creation, and boom, it hits the physical world. I haven't yet pulled the anchor yet. So if my angel said, are you frigging nuts? And I finally go, that's when the anchor goes, the lever goes, and I back off, and it goes back into, and nothing happens. Because I made the right choice, and I went, and what happens is I pulled myself back, and I stopped myself from hemorrhaging, from violating myself, from making a choice I know I shouldn't have made. Because what would happen if I made the choice, if I made it, I will have violated my guidance. And then, let me draw myself so you get it. I would have made the choice. Here's the heart. Here's the fifth. I would have made the choice, and then I would have to explain it to my heart. I'd have to explain it to my fourth chakra. In order to explain a violation of the soul to my fourth chakra, well, I have to pull out a wound. I have to pull out a wound. In order to pull out a wound, I have to stay wounded. I have to have someone to blame other than myself. Now, this little discussion here is really worth staying on if you have questions, discussions, anything. This here is our big deal. The need to stay wounded, which keeps you at this angle, if not this angle, if not this, depending on how many wounds, because the need to stay wounded allows you to go into your past to blame others for why you do what you do, for why you are who you are, for your child, for all of this, the need to do any of this. Yes?
Does the word deserve, like if you're rewarding yourself
Wait.
differently?
Oh, whoa, stop. Wait. Does the word deserve come in? Yeah, you'll go to the third
Are you
column.
rewarding yourself with the bling for the pain of your wound in some way to convince your heart that you deserve?
Oh, sure. You can do that. You can use deserve. You can use comfort. Comfort's a third chakra. I'm comforting myself. I deserve, but this is a version of self-love, as if self-abuse is self-love. You know, I'm destroying my health, but I'll call it self-love. Okay, so are you with me here? Now I'm going to hit a pause button and ask you, how many of you are hemorrhaging in this way? right now, in this present moment, how many of you are hemorrhaging this way in this moment? Would you please identify that just right now? Take a moment and write it down. And how many, and I don't know, and I have to say, if you think you're not, you don't know yourself very well.
Can you say that in another way?
Yeah.
Please.
Is there any, I'm asking you to identify how it is you are deliberately using a wound in any way to get away with choices of being here. And how can you spell that out for me, darling?
I'm using you as a treat.
Well, I'm not sure I like that. All righty, let me go. Let me see.
So I feel wounded, and I'm using you and this activity and this experience as a treat. The hotel, the facial, the massage, the lecture, the food, the people, you're my treat because I'm wounded. Is that a bad thing? Because I feel it's a good thing, a healing thing. So you need to help me with that. Please.
And so I shall. Well, you've come to the right person. And I can see just in the nick of time. That is a great one, you little rascal. Do you know, we have not met. Is that agreed?
That's great.
And you've already said you are newly wounded.
Yes.
Okay. Is it okay to tell people to share with them that what your wound is, like you shared with me?
I lost my father this summer, and I lost my husband to infidelity in June. 10 days ago, the divorce was final. My best friend has lung cancer, and I'm a bladder cancer survivor. So,
Okay.
lots of clouds right now, but things are going to be good.
Okay. So you know what? I was supposed to meet one of my oldest friends in my life, going back to college, at the end of this workshop Thursday, who died of lung cancer 2 weeks ago.
Sorry for you.
This Thursday, she died 2 weeks ago. It's my fourth friend of lung cancer, and none of them smoked. Okay, so anyway. Okay, so I asked you not to expose this, but to point out that, and I think we said earlier today, the fresh wound from Ohio to, if you remember.
Yes.
And so from that, whether you were with me or with someone else, in the first year of the wounds, you have to seek healing paths. You have to. I would tell anybody, please find some way to take care of yourself in whichever way you need to do. Whether that included me or not, whether you went to some other, you went to Deepak, or you went to Omega, or to some high-end spa, you went to Miraval, wherever.
Diamond shopping too?
And diamond shopping. Whatever it is you needed to do to begin the process of getting yourself, because healing starts at the first level, and then it moves on. But if I saw you 4 years from now, 2 years from now, 3 years, and you were at the same level, we would have a very different conversation. And I can tell you that from my heart. We would have a very different conversation. And I would say, why haven't you progressed? But right now, you are in the process of seeing how deep this goes and what you need to heal and what you saw coming and what you weren't, and what you felt might have been coming, and the need to release a parent whose time had come. I can tell that your father must have been older, so it was okay to let him go, but that doesn't mean it wasn't a heartache. My mother's 92 and I'm facing something, which doesn't mean I won't grieve deeply, deeply, but a parent who's coming close to a century old is going to make the journey soon, okay? And so it's a different kind of mourning than a 7-year-old who loses a young mother. And losing a spouse to something that's a violation of a vow, not a promise, a vow, that requires mourning. And at the same time, you think, you had to sense something was amiss. Something was amiss somewhere. And the preparation, the soul had started to prepare. If you sensed your soul, you knew it was starting to prepare. Would you not say that that's true? You know it, because the soul tells you ahead of time that the vow was being broken. That's how acute and sharp the soul is. Because it's the soul that takes the vow. And when a vow is being broken, your soul goes on alert, and you may not want, and you pay attention to me right now. That's why they're called sacraments, because they are sacred. And that's why there are so few of them. So very few. You can make 1,000,000 promises, but you may take only one vow in your life at the most. And believe you me, when that vow is violated, your soul is alerted and it goes on ding, 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 ding. Because let me just explain something. What is a vow? Now come up here. Oh, my third. This is where I wish I had an angel sidekick and you'd see the thing go like this. But we're asking for too much. All right. This legal agreement. Will you make everybody sign, 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 sign? Promise. Vow. This you give your word. See the 6th chakra? You give your word. This is a vow. And in a vow, you are asking the celestial world to send its messengers to be witness to what your soul is doing. To what your soul's doing. That your soul is making a commitment, as well as your body, that you're saying, I want to tie my soul to this. So I want all the grace you can give me. This is part of my soul's contract in this life. I believe that this is part of what I'm supposed to do. So you better give me all the grace you can, because I'm agreeing to do this. When a child is born, a little infant, a little baby, and you have a ritual, a holy sacred ritual, you baptize the child in any, whatever, I use that word, but I use it now universally. However it is you welcome the infant with a holy ritual, it is because what you're saying is, I got it, and we will be responsible for the body and soul of this human being. It's not just a body for us, it is a soul in a body. And we will be the manager, and we will maintain and keep sacred its consciousness, its holiness. It is holy to us, and we will revere it. It is not just a little body that we will satisfy ourselves because we puree its organic food. What a bunch of crap that is. We will manage its holiness so that we teach it. We teach it how to settle its soul, how to not hemorrhage, how to hold its center, how to recognize when it is in a moral or ethical dilemma, how to recognize when its spirit is among dark spirits, how to understand there's darkness in this world. It's what I taught the kids. They had to live with me. They had to live with me, so they learned that. You don't think this world is just full of light? Are you nuts? You will recognize darkness. And this is how you pray your way through it. I will not have you turn to drugs. I will not have you turn to alcohol. I will not have you think it's your imagination and plunge deep into depression. And it didn't work with some of them. But by God, it sure did with the rest. And that's how, and me, I'm the master teacher. And that's how hard it is to negotiate. And it didn't work with all of them. But in a sense, it did because they're clinging to me. They're clinging to me to make their way through this. You think all these children, all this opioid addiction is because they can't get jobs? Are you nuts? They can't function in this world because they can sense they're in two zones. They're in this inner zone where the values are saying, this is meaningless. This is meaningless. But they can't put the language to what they are perceiving. Children now, they're trying to teach them this education when it's this part that needs the education. This. They have 10 and 15 chakras open. They have 10 and 15, and the kids are sensing the world around them, and instead they're retreating and deciding, I'm going to go autistic, the hell with this. We are between zones now. You're between zones. You're between zones. You're picking up, you're a bloody internet. We are connected on the internet, and we work just like the internet. You close your eyes and you send a thought form, and it travels just like energy mail. And you pick up things from your archetypes. You cannot get on and think you're connecting yourself to the world and think you turn it off and go to bed. And think, oh, I don't want to watch that, it's so negative. Do you actually think you have that kind of power of choice? Half of you can't decide what you want for dinner. You can't block the energy world without, years ago, and I'm sure some of you heard me tell this story, but I have to tell you now from the idea of how much we have to work to build consciousness around us. And when I was, I just need a little water if you'll excuse me. Whoa, sorry. No, honey, I got it right here. Got it. I forget. You know what? We learn everything by example. When I was renovating my home, so this kid ripped me off. He was a carpenter and he ripped me off for like thousands of dollars. Okay, so that's a first column thing. And I went into the same kind of nonsense I'm telling you. How could that happen to me? And I'm so fair, I'm so just, I don't steal, I don't this. So now I'm being stolen from, the usual crap. But like, I don't do anything usually. So when I get really crazy. And so he was holding up everything because he was supposed to do my cabinets, and now the cabinets, because they weren't done, this couldn't get done. You know how that goes. Now this guy was 6'7". So what does that mean? It means that when you look up and you try and tell someone off who's 6 foot, you're talking to a sequoia tree, right? But I thought, oh, he's no match for my brilliance. He's a thief, but I'm brilliant, and there you go. Oh, God. Oh, how we learn to eat humble pie. So I got a dose of it that day. So I go to see him this first time, and I thought, where's the check for $60,000 that I gave him to buy all the wood to make all the cabinets for my house and blah, 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 blah. And I drive to his little humble place. He worked alone, or he had a sidekick or something. And there's a new boat, but no cabinets. Okay, so you could say, sue him for what? You think I want a boat in my yard? Right. So, all right. So I end up going to this conference in Florida, and there was the man, and now he's passed away tragically, John O'Donohue. I don't know how many of you know who he was. He's a great Irish poet and mystic, and he had been a priest. And he was a doctor of philosophy, and he was an exquisite human being. Far too handsome to be a priest. And anyway, and we were sitting around, and he was knocking down whiskeys, and we're laughing and laughing about the church. And then I thought, I said, John, could I talk to you about something serious? And boy, he just goes, whoosh, and that spiritual director comes out. And I told him, and I said, every time I go near this person, I just become another person. I become angry and I lose it, and I become this horrible person, and I think, and he just snickers at me, and I just, yeah. And so all my idealism and my attempt to think I can reason with him, and I want to beat the crap out of him. I want to take a baseball bat and go Chicago on him. Now, he gave me counsel from here, and I knew it was right. Someone can give you 2 levels of counsel. There's the person that will say you should sue them. And then there's the spiritual director who gives you the counsel about what is the truth. This is what's true, and this is the truth. And it is for you to decide as a mystic in training. And I was a mystic in training. And I knew that I was in the right to sue him according to the earth. According to, come here, earth justice. And I had every reason. But can you see this? I don't want to keep flipping. But I also knew that going that route would cause me to hemorrhage. I would be engaging in a battle that would cost me more at the energy level. I would no satisfaction. It would in fact increase my anger, righteous though I might be. So this is ego, this is spirit, and this is soul. Now your ego would tell you what is right. I'm going to put the word here, right. But this is what is wise. What is wise? What is wise? What is the wise thing to do? What is the truth? And so the truth, you have to go symbolic. Or archetypal. And this is literal. Did I put that word down? No. Literal. Because I could make a case and take it to court and prove maybe that he had invested that in the same amount of cash and bought the boat and blah, 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 blah. But I knew that's not the point. The point is I did not follow my hunch on that day that I wrote that check. That in that, come in the middle column, in that microsecond that I looked, I thought, not that he was a bad person. No, 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 no. What I saw was his child, his inner child, that nobody had given him that much money before, and that he was going to go batshit crazy. And that's exactly what he did. He wasn't bad. He was just like, oh my God, I'd never seen $60,000 before. Me, I was going to go on the road again. It was like, just take care of this and do it. Just do it. I'm used to having people do things because where am I? I'm in Vancouver, I'm in Santa Fe, I'm in Europe, I'm in here, I'm there. I can't manage children. I never wanted children for exactly that reason. I'm not a mother. I don't do management. I've never even changed a diaper. Not kidding, not kidding. No intention of ever changing that. Okay. Okay, so I don't deal with creatures that can't talk to me. What's wrong? All right, right? As soon as you can tell me what's wrong, I'll work with you. But I panic. I hit the panic button. I absolutely hit the panic button. You can't tell me what's wrong, I can't be around. Right? You can't tell me what you want, I don't know how to deal with you. I don't know how to deal with you. I have to admit it. Here, take that, All right. So, and that's how I love mother's intuition. No, they're too hot, they're too cold, they want this, they want that. Well, good, here. Right. So, John, I looked at the wise way, which is this was of my creation. I knew, and I chose to take the risk. But John said to me, you're not strong enough to be around the field that person creates. And the field was created, who knows, maybe a combination of guilt, arrogance, defensiveness, whatever combination that this person generated. When he looked at me with absolute contempt and arrogance. And that challenge of, I could do whatever I want and try and get it back, and right? And I knew that. And that magnetism brought out the worst in me. So I'm going to hit a pause button here. And this is a really, really great, big, huge, important thing in our fourth chakra. And that's your turning point to empower yourself and holy language. You can speak all the holy language you want. But how do you animate it so it has power in you? So it has power in you. As a way of explaining this, all the years I started to kind of get interested in energy medicine. Energy medicine requires energy. It requires you have energy. If you are depleted and have all of you is anchored in your past, you are depleted of energy. And the way to think about this is that you have $100 worth of energy per day. And let's say you spend your energy on $20 financing this resentment, $5 financing this emotional heartache, $5 financing this emotional fear, financing this need for emotional attention, all of which takes you out of financing the emotional love you could be investing in others, the emotion, all the power your heart could be giving you. And instead, it's going into most human beings spend your time in the shadow end of your heart or the shallow end of the emotional pool. I promise you, you are not in the deep end. You are not in the deep end of your heart. You are not. And as a result, in energy medicine, when people use energy medicine, Bach flower remedies, acupuncture, whatever it is they use, that the rose oils, any oils, the benefit these are all conduits. They're conduits. The oil itself doesn't have any power. But the alchemy of your soul with that plus prayer converts it into a conduit of an energy that would otherwise not reach this level. Did I say that? If you don't have enough energy, you cannot magnetize so that all you end up with is perfume on your body, but not the actual energy, because you need to be up here, but you're down here. And you need chemical medicine because you are too dense for energy medicine. Are you with me here? Okay. And the same is with holy language, in the sense that you might, like, when you read the scripture, for example, the scripture, any holy piece, what makes a scripture different than a book, than Charles Dickens? And even heaven will use anything. When you read but let's take the scripture. Let's take a psalm, and you read any piece from it. You know, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not walk, right? You will read it literally when you are depleted of energy. You will take it literally and often say, it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. You'll read the scripture, and maybe you'll read the book of Kings, and you'll think that it's really about one king following another. Literally. Or you'll read the book of Job, and you won't see that there really was a mystical conversation when Yahweh said to Job, and where were you when I laid the foundations of this universe? You won't get that maybe there was that conversation. Where were you when I hung the stars and the planets? Where were you when I decided the size of the ocean and where the shores would meet the water? Where were you, Job? Where were you? Maybe you'll think that someone in their imagination wrote the book of Job. Maybe you'll think that because you're in the literal world, because you're bound to time. But as you become more timeless, as your energy comes more into present time, you start reading things from timeless eyes. You develop the eyes of a mystic, and you start reading the soul of what's in there. The Kabbalist, you start reading the soul, and what happens is the scripture starts speaking to you as if it's alive. As if it's alive. And it starts as if every page starts revealing to you what it really, the hidden message of what it's really saying. It starts opening like a flower and saying, this is what this means. And it whispers it into your heart, the secret alchemy of what's hidden there, because you now can handle the light hidden in the words, the holy hidden in the scripture starts coming through to you. Incredible. Don't you think that's incredible? Maybe not. I do. Oh my God. I think it's so incredible. That's what this is about. And that light changes your biophysiology. That light actually changes your biophysiology. And it changes your capacity to change someone else's biophysiology. That's what it means to become a channel. That's what it means. Okay, I'm going to give you guys a break. Go have a cup of coffee and get back here. Yeah. Sure, you can have a question. What is your question?
Did you ever speak to
Did I after? Yes, I did. Because what John O'Donohue told me, let me finish that, was he said I needed to pray to be in a circle of grace. Thank you for asking. I needed to pray to put myself in a circle of grace because I wasn't strong enough to be near that darkness, that my being was too weak, too fragile, and he could pierce through me by just a mere look, and he was right. And I have to tell you, I was so mortified. But that was a truth. Oh, no, I wasn't mortified that he saw that in me. I was mortified that it was the truth. And of course, he had to see the truth in me, but I wasn't mortified. Am I saying that right? I was mortified by the truth, but whether he had seen that or my beloved Sister Barbara Doherty was my mentor in college, someone had to tell me. And it may as well be by someone I loved and revered. But I also was totally mesmerized by that truth, in awe of that truth. It put me in awe of the power of grace because it was the truth. I don't know if I can convey how much awe I was in that moment because it was the truth. And I thought, I am without armor. There is no amount of intelligence, no amount of brilliance that can compete with grace. I was in awe of that. I will never not remember that moment of, wow, this is big. And if it costs me 60, take it. Take it. Take it and more, because you've given me safety for the rest of my life. For the rest of my life. You gave me safety. I thank him. Mm-hmm. I bow to him. Mm-hmm. And I hope to God he's safe.
Mm-hmm. I've been there and I did not choose grace. Mm. And this is another step in my healing. With regard to that, it was big for me. And so thank you for sharing that story.
I got a million stories where I blew it, let me tell you.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Well, because hopefully I've done some things right.
I didn't learn anything the easy way. I learned nothing the easy way. I wish. No, I don't. I just learn the way I learn. I'm kind of like, but once I learn, I get it. Mm-hmm. And I get it big. And I think because
this will help me get it.
Because I have to learn by scraping both my knees, not one. One's never good enough for me. Mm-hmm. But because I do, I'm also someone who, when I get it, I can't get over it. So my reward is that I'm always sitting there in a puddle of blood going, wow. So I always go, wow. So I forget the pain immediately because I'm always struck by the wow. I'm always struck. Like the field of grace from choosing the wisdom. John was right. John was right. I hadn't prepared for battle. And that's
you
when
heard him.
Pardon?
You heard him.
I hurt him?
You heard him.
Oh, no, but I realized I was hearing God through him. This was a holy messenger. And this was a holy messenger. And I was getting a holy message. And I got it. I was not prepared to deal with darkness. And I also understood that it wasn't personal with that man. That I saw, everything became clear. Everything. This young man, it wasn't him who was dark. It was the power of temptation around a weak soul who had never been given so much, and it was too much.
Yeah.
It was too much at one time. I got it. It was too much power at one time in the hands of, and I knew it, and I had been told that. And I didn't listen. So I could
didn't
not, I got the whole thing just, boom, I got the whole thing. So, and through this, I got that darkness has the power to go and bring me down. Now, that wasn't going to work. That was not going to work. And it was never going to happen again. That was never going to happen again. I beat the crap out of the fragileness in me. That was never going to happen again. So she said. All right, but let me just say this. What would never happen again, so far as I could tell, is that I would keep an eye on my fragility and remind myself, as Teresa said, lead me not into temptation. Oh, keep my eye on this. This is just too much. But then I got a kick out of the fact that I could be taken down so easily. Like, this is just too much. You are so full of crap sometimes. So I am really, I am as tough on myself as I am on my students. And I have to be. But it makes me feel like I'm teaching myself all the time, which is the best place to be. I cannot be any other place. Because half the time I'm thinking, I do the same thing. I do the same thing. And the moment you think you're not is when God's going to get you. And that I know. And this isn't like Catholic superstition, because I'm not superstitious. I just know Teresa. Teresa's my teacher of Avila, by the way. Avila. And she would say to her nuns, girls, you always keep your eye open. The moment you tell yourself you cannot be tempted is the moment. Because how does the darkness work? There's no gargoyle at the end of your bed that's going to go, wake up, you know. It's not like that. How darkness works is it comes in through arrogance. It comes in through weakness. It comes in through your saying, oh, I could never do that. That's exactly when you have to say, I don't know. I don't know, I haven't been there. I haven't been there. I don't know if I don't know. I have not. Don't tell yourself you can't do something if you haven't been in the position.
What is the point of the darkness?
Well, I've not had that discussion with the darkness itself. But let me say this. That if this was a classroom before incarnation, and I was your angel coach, what I would say is that the journey of life is this sacred experience of you are a soul that's solidified for a brief period of time, and then you're going to melt back into mist, and that's called death. And while you're here, what you're going to experience is how powerful your relationship with creation is. So you can see it, so you can experience it in everything you do, in every relationship, that every word you say affects the whole of life. That every thought you have affects the whole of life. That you're going to start out in big ways, by craving. You're going to start craving things, touching things. I want. And you're going to see your impact on creation in big ways through how it affects your body, that everything you do, everything you shove in it or out of it or in it, stick in it, everything's going to affect your form. But in the mystical law, everything you do to your form, you're doing to the whole. So I'll just teach you the laws. We'll go through the laws if you want. You need to know the laws. and that you're held accountable. And the more astute you become, the more you trust the non-physical world as your ally in your journey, the more subtle and powerful will become your acts of creation. That the more powerful ones are the delicate, homeopathic, invisible ones. If you know homeopathic medicine, you know that it takes the mustard seed to take down the mountain. The same thing is true with a thought. A thought is a mustard seed. A mustard seed. Why would that not become your holy practice? Why would you not apply that to the whole? Why would you not get that a mustard seed is a holy prayer at the high conscious level? That in order to do that, you have to be as still as this and as faithful as that and just say, what do you want me to do? And to trust and to hear that clearly. Because heaven will speak to you that clearly. But in order to hear that clearly, you have to put yourself under holy silence. The vow of holy silence. You have to have that agreement. You have to. You have to. There is no exception. You have to say, okay, God, it's you and me, and I put myself under the vow of holy silence. I won't break that. You can't go running to people and think, do you think God really talked to me? You cannot use it for attention or fame or nonsense. Just like they took vows in the monastery in days of old for protection, not punishment. You, as you develop, it's not. Most of you won't make that journey because it's not your calling. But you will have in you a journey of guidance that will open up. Guidance just for you, for your life. And you want that to trust that guidance. You will want to trust that because it is just for your life. Some of you will take it further. But you will want to say at some point, it's between you and me. It's between you and me. And you'll want to make that some kind of promise that says, I won't break this bond. I won't break it. I won't contaminate it because I need attention or because I need something. I won't do it. It's between you and me. And when you trust and have faith in the bond in you that deeply, you won't, I tell you what, you won't be afraid to love without an agenda. You won't be able to look at someone and think, there's something special in them somewhere. I'll just be patient. You won't be afraid to love without waiting for them to do something kind to you first. You'll think, God, counsel me. How can I help them? Talk to me. And you'll be given instructions because you'll see that everybody is a part of you. And you won't live with a line in the sand. You just won't. Okay, have a break. I was asked some really good questions during break, and we are going to hang out a little bit in the fourth because that is our turning point. And yes, I will address 8, 9, and 10, and yes. But Michelle, would you please, Beth, can we have the question? And Michelle, go.
So I had asked Carolyn, basically I feel like I'm following and taking everything in intellectually, but I'm not naive enough to think that just because I understand it, that all of a sudden I can just change or that it's going to be easy or without struggle. So my question was in terms of how to navigate the struggle and what does it look like when our habitual patterns come up that are basically our escapes, the things that we use to numb out or to slow down the speed of things. How do we work with those, and how do we handle
Okay.
the struggle without going insane?
And where is, Carolyn, what you were saying? Was that personal?
Oh, no, it's okay.
Okay.
I was just saying to Carolyn that she's a Sherpa, and
Well, no, that's not what
and I'm climbing Mount Everest, and I'm not, getting near the top. And I've been on a spiritual path for 45 years, and sometimes I feel like
please, don't worry about it.
yeah, that I don't know. I must have certain spiritual expectations, and I do, and it just feels like, where are they? When will it be revealed? When will it, the really great aha? There have been small things, of course, to inspire me along the path, but yeah, just today I feel overwhelmed with all this.
Yeah, to that, I'm downloading, you're getting downloaded with a new world. And tomorrow I'm going to give you like a list of words that you've heard before, but not as holy language. And I think, like, for example, you've all heard the word mercy before. You've all heard the word reflection. You've all heard the word compassion. You've all heard the word sacred. But you have not put it within the context of what it means to put those words as active agents of God, of active agents of change. That when you look at something and you suddenly think, this is sacred. Like, I hear people say things like, this is sacred ground, but they don't know what it means. They actually don't know what that means. What does it mean to say, this is sacred ground? What does that mean? As an example, about 7 years ago, was it, at Miraval? Was it 7, 8 years ago? Do you know where Miraval is in Tucson, Arizona? Okay. Say? I was in Tucson, at Arizona, doing a workshop, and Miraval has these areas that how they do rooms like the 100s, and then they have the 200s and the 300s. Then they have an area that's the 600s, and that's their latest. And the 600s, you have to go down, and they're down here. And the 600s are built differently than the rest of them, in that they're modern, and they're built very Zen. And that's important to the story, because they're built with concrete bricks, those big bricks, big heavy sliding doors, and then these kind of drop blinds that are very heavy to block out the hot Arizona sun. Do you know they're almost like plastic, they're so heavy. There's teak furniture in there, and I'm going through all of this as a way of saying there's nothing in the room that makes noise like it does in my old 140-year house that goes boom, boom, boom. Every time you turn on the heat, it just goes bang, boom, bang, boom. Every time you walk on the floor, it's right? So I have a house that never stops belching and talking and spewing and right? But it took me over a year to get used to the sounds in my house, to not get up and think, is there something in here, right? It's eerie to have a house that active. So I go, first time I'm staying in the 600 rooms, I'm in 606. We get there on a Wednesday, and I arrive around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I go down to the room, and my routine is I don't put on sound. I have to look over my notes. I kind of relax a little bit, and then we all get together for a glass of wine or something, then we go to dinner, not unlike here. The room is silent, absolutely silent. And I'll tell you something that's really odd about me. I don't like sunshine. I prefer overcast and cloudy. Sunshine depresses me. Not kidding, right? But Beth knows. From the time I was a child, I don't have windows with sun in them. My office, my desk faces the wall. I can't bear to look out windows. I know, I get it, but that's me. I'm a real odd duck. And with too much light. No, yeah, right. But I don't like it. Sunshine depresses me. I could never live in the Southwest. It blinds my eyes. It's just, ugh. But English climate, give it to me. Bring it on, right? So anyway, so I pulled that drape down right away. I thought, whew. And anyway. So it's very quiet. I go to dinner, come back, it's bedtime. I hop in bed, and I hear this banging on the roof. Banging like this. That loud. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell is wrong with this room? But because my house is so loud, I go to sleep. Now it's Thursday night. And that banging is now in the air duct. And I'm thinking, this is the craziest room, and I go to sleep. And now it's Friday night, and that banging's in the room. It's in the room. It's in front of my face. It's in front of my face, right? And I'm thinking, wow, like this is scary, right? So I go to bed, I turn off the lights, and I hear the sound of, like, let me see if I can do this. Like your foot underneath that curtain and rubbing it like this. And I thought, holy Christ, Jesus. And, right, Jesus, take the wheel, right? And I turn on the light, and I look around, and I see the cabinet door open like this. Yeah, not kidding. Not kidding. And I'm looking around, and my heart, right? Boom, 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 boom. And I'm looking, and I'm thinking, I am not alone. I am so frigging not alone, but I didn't say frigging. And I'm sitting on the bed, and I'm trying to calm down. I'm trying to get my bearings, because I've never come this close to something that's actually moving things, ever in my life. Never in my life. Okay, so how do you go to sleep, right? How do you go to sleep? But why is it at times like that, when you're so upset that you get so tired? And I think, I've got to teach tomorrow. I decide, and I go back and I turn off the light, and then, what a Halloween story, right? Then my eyes are closed, and I feel this presence go like this. All right. My heart starts beating like this. I am so scared. But I'm not terrified. I'm not scared because I think it's like demonic. I know demonic. This is not demonic. I don't know what it is. But I said, God, send me a legion of angels, because I'm like about to open my eyes, and I don't know what this is. So I reach over to the light, and I could hear my heart pounding in my ears, and I turned the light on and opened, but there was nothing there. And now I get out of bed, and I'm standing there, and I'm like this, and I don't know where to look. And I said, show yourself. Come on. show yourself, materialize, whatever you are. This is your moment. You've got it. You want something? Show yourself. Do it right now. And I'm looking around. I'm like, and nothing happened. And then I said, get down. Out of here. Get out. And quiet. And then I go to bed. It's like 4:45 in the morning. And I was like, and I'm like, right. I get dressed in the morning. My close friend, Peter Shaw, who lives in Australia, he lives in Melbourne, my forever, ever friend, I've known him since I was 32. And Beth knows him very well. The next morning, I get up, I walk out. He had a room down in the 600s, and he's got a cigarette. He goes, you got an Indian standing right behind you. All right, so Jean Hausman is with us. She's been in CMED. I don't know how many of you know her. She happened to have sage. Who travels with sage? Jean. He has tobacco. I have holy water. I always travel with holy water. And a rosary, right? I'm packed. And, and so that night, that afternoon, we did a ritual. We thought maybe it was a spirit caught between worlds. So we did this prayer. And then, now Miraval is located like outside Tucson. And the thing is, because it's so outside and in the mountains, there's not good phone reception there, which is very important because there's a lot of places you can't get phone reception. And there was a woman in my workshop named Mercedes. She's from Puerto Rico. She gets a phone call on Sunday morning from some woman, bruja, who lives in the mountains in Puerto Rico, who's a medium, who tracks her down and says, Mercedes, only speaks Spanish. The woman's like 80-some years old, and says, do you know some woman named Carolina? Oh my God. And she says, I have a message. Some spirit's trying to reach her. And this spirit identified himself as the gatekeeper and said that I was on sacred land. Sacred, here's my point. I had come on sacred land without reverence. And he saw me coming, and he knew that I was bringing other people, but it was me who was responsible. And I had not done ceremony. I had not done holy ritual. And I was about to teach and open up their souls. And I had not asked for the light and holiness to protect them that had been entrusted to me on this land, entrusted to him. Entrusted to him. And he knew I was coming back. He knew. I have this letter on my altar at home. And he knew, and he said, no more. I had to do that ceremony. And all the next time and I was instructed, and all the following times that I have since come to Miraval, I said, I must stay in that room, and the first thing I do is my ceremony to him. To him. To ask permission and to have the light shine and to protect me as I open the students who are standing on sacred ground. And it taught me what sacred ground is. That it is not just a saying, just that what sacred ground is it's not just ground we designate, but something happens when you step on holy ground, that you take your shoes off on holy ground, but you must pray, protect me, hold me on this. You just don't walk on in as a tourist. You don't walk on. That there is one of the core teachings, and this is here. This is your passage through here. There are things There are teachings you have to understand that that terrify you in this lesser world, in the lesser world, but protect you in this world. And in the lesser world, the idea of being humble makes you think I'm talking about poverty. It makes you think that I'm talking about you giving up all your worldly goods, because that is how an ordinary mortal hears humbleness. Oh no, you think I mean give up your worldly goods, give up your clothes and this, and walk the streets like a decalcid monk or nun or something. I'm not, no. In this world, you understand what that means. It means that to walk in humbleness, you get that you must adhere to the laws of the universe. This universe, we are simply a species. In this world, human beings think that they have to make the universe adhere to them. That we are here to control nature. There's no humbleness in that world. There's only arrogance, and arrogance is how the darkness gets you. It tells you you can do anything. You can't do anything. That you can have it all. No, you can't. No, you can't. That you were born for something special. No, you weren't. You were just born. And you're going to die. And only a handful of people are going to show up at your funeral, and then life is going to go on and no one will think about it. We are here for this long. And we've hardly made a difference, so get over it. And get over yourself now. Nobody's going to remember you. Makes me feel like a bunny rabbit. Am I good? Okay. A bunny rabbit. Anyway, where was I? Oh. Get over it. Anyway, but you get my point. Okay. So, do you have any questions? Yes, darling. Wait a minute. We got to wait for the mic.
What kind of protection does one need on holy ground? I'm not sure I understand that.
What kind of protection? You know, I think I think that we can talk about what a blessing is, and blessing is holy language. To say, bless me here. What is a blessing? What happens when you say, bless me, Lord, bless someone else? And I don't care if you say, Lord, God, Goddess, I don't know what you fill in your blank. I happen to like, and it's out of habit, that personal word. Bless me as I set foot on this with respect. I think that is an acknowledgement that this land, this area, is a vortex of light, of holy light. And I think there are such places, just like our body has acupuncture points that are vortexes of light. They're like perfume points, and then there's cologne points. There's cologne areas, and there are perfume, and they're called acupuncture points. So our body has those vortexes, and so the macro earth has those vortexes. And I think cathedrals and synagogues and mosques, these holy places that people gather, St. Bridget's Well in Ireland, these sacred places, Fatima, Lourdes, these places of miracles, where Magigori, these holy places, ashrams, are not picked randomly. I think there must be a configuration of energies, the angles of planets. I don't know what the alchemy is, but I think there must be an alchemy that is created in that spot. It could be a combination of the alchemy of the crystals below and the light above. I don't know what makes it so. But when we go on that ground, I think it opens our crystalline centers up. And I think if we don't know that, if we don't say, protect me, put me in a field of light, Lord, thank you. If we don't consciously ask, I think we're vulnerable. Why do I think that? Well, I have no proof of this, so I'm going to ask you to listen to this and leave it in the room if it doesn't feel right. But every single teacher in spirituality and everything in spirituality, from all the teachings of Jesus to Buddha to everything, is about pay attention to choice. Pay attention to the world around you. Choose consciously. Choice. Everything. Everything is choice and consequence. Everything. Everything is becoming alert to the world around you. And every tradition worth its salt has an acknowledgement of the lower realm of mischief, the dark lower realm. And the Tibetans would call it devils in the corner. Every tradition does. And we've decided, because we're so sophisticated, that we could say such things don't exist. We're wrong, they do. They do. And I think when we tell ourselves that it's okay to be unconscious, it's not. And here's something that's ironic. This is the age of consciousness, but we've never been more unconscious. We have never had more ways to be unconscious than we have now. Through drugs, through alcohol, through medication. We have never been more unconscious while saying we're in the route to more conscious. We have never, ever. It is so astounding. We've never had more emphasis on what it is to make individual choices while being more possessed by collective means that cause us to make collective choices, like Facebook, like multimedia, like advertising, that leads us into being of one mind, like fundamentalism. So you think you're making a personal choice, but you're not. You're completely under a dark spell. Completely under a dark spell. It is very, very difficult. Very difficult to retrieve your soul from this lower level. And so when you, and the amazingly, how much we avoid sacred ground, how much we avoid walking into a synagogue or walking into a church or walking into unholy ground and saying, let's gather together. Let's gather together. Whether you pray together in someone's house, I don't care what it is, to create a community. I got a book. In fact, I just got 6 copies of it. I forgot to bring one for Beth, but I received a book to endorse, which I endorsed, and so I'm going to tell you about it because it's now available. The author is a Buddhist, and this Buddhist had a vision of the Madonna, right? Because she's not fussy. And she said, I want you to do a book. I want you to do this on, and it's called The Way of the Rose. And it's the rosary. And she said, tell people to come into my garden and that I will answer their prayers. And tell them to say the garden together and I'll be there. Oh my God. So he's starting rosary circles all over New England. And people get together and they say, and they share their intention, can you pray for a healing for me? Can you pray? And then they collectively share their intention and they say this rosary to Mary, knowing she's there. She's always there. And they call it the Way of the Rose. And she said, this is my garden. Come into my garden. Come into my garden. And she went to a Buddhist, probably because, you know, she's expanding herself. I think it's brilliant. She didn't consult with me, of course, but I think it's absolutely brilliant. But the fact is, the idea of that becomes sacred ground. That's sacred ground too. You create sacred ground by what you do together. And think about that. If you decided we're going to pray together, you light a candle and you have some kind of holy ritual that opens it and closes it. And you think this is now a holy field of grace that we have created together. I remember a year ago, Christmas. Yeah. I was, my neighbor, quickly, this last story. My neighbor had a Christmas party. And one of my neighbors said, you know, I just don't know, you know, made some remark about how lonely she felt spiritually. And I have wonderful neighbors. And so I said, well, what if we got together once a month and we had a kind of a spiritual dinner. We made it a gourmet spiritual dinner. But we all brought one deep spiritual question, one deep physical delicious dish, and something inspiring that we all share before we leave. And so we get together and we each bring a question for the soul that we discuss. And it could be something like, what is the great challenge for your soul this month? Or what has inspired you the most this month? And we each have a different question. And we sometimes don't get around to all of them. And we have this great banquet. And you know, one brings appetizers, one brings the meal, one brings dessert. And it lasts sometimes till 2 a.m. And then we end with an inspiration and a prayer. This is sacred ground. And it feels like a mass because we pray for each other and for our families and for the people in the community. And that's how you start this sense of, where is God? God is with me and with everything. So let me close with a prayer. Close your eyes. All right, tonight when you go to sleep, this is what I want you to do. This is what I want you to do. I want you to think that you're sleeping under the stars. Right? And you say, Lord, send me my angel. Let my angel take me out of my body among the stars to the realm of the healing angels. And let those angels work on me through the night. Let them take my sorrow out of my heart and let them repair my heart. Let them take the loneliness out of my heart and replace it with space for others. Lord, let the healing angels repair the aches and the aging in my body. And let the healing angels work on my mind and the stories I tell myself that are simply not true. Let me return to earth and into my life, seeing it fresh and new, and for the blessing that my life is. And then let me rest among the stars through the night and return me safely to my body before the sun rises. Amen. Okay, now tomorrow we're going to go through I'm going to give you words to animate in your soul that you keep with you, that you've already know, but what would it mean if they were holy for you? Do you realize when you said, what is compassion? What does it mean? What is reflection? What does it mean to go into reflection? To actually say, I can't answer that now. I have to reflect on this. I have to reflect on this. What is a holy practice for yourselves? What would it mean to think of yourself as a mystic out of a monastery? So, we have a lot to do tomorrow. A very short day. I wish this were longer. Well, okay. See you at dinner.